This is Magic City Soccer coming to you from outside the Fernandez Athletic Complex here at St. Thomas University. The Miami FC 2 matchup against Jacksonville Armada just concluded. We have a 1-1 draw. Omar, a familiar storyline, a familiar scoreline for Miami FC 2 this season.
Season of the 1-1 draws, I guess, huh?
No kidding. 3 out of 3.
3 out of 3, 1-1 draws. The second time where Miami FC comes from behind in the second half and gets a goal. And yeah, I mean, you know what, though? This was the first match where it was a good game, where Jacksonville wasn't scared to play Miami, or you saw maybe Miami United not necessarily scared, but really taking it to them. The first game you can't really count. In the second game, can't really count either. You're playing 60-something minutes with a man down. So it was a fun match to watch, and it almost seemed smooth, despite the amount of yellow cards that were issued and the amount of, player association meetings that happened on the pitch. It was a smooth game to watch, yeah.
It was smooth in terms of the style of play, but a little bit tense, like you mentioned, in terms of the kind of conflict there was. Now, second time in 2 games where you've seen these kind of boiling points come up between Miami FC and an opponent. What do you make of that?
I think it's just probably the NPSL. I mean, I would guess it's just probably the NPSL. It's hard to explain the difference, I guess, in a sense, between stepping down from the NASL, which really was Division II light. I mean, let's be honest, 8-team league, right? And then we're moving now into the NPSL, where you're seeing more of that rough physical play. And, the officials aren't pro referees. They're not under the pro umbrella. They're under USASA. So, there's a different view on the game, too.
Thing I noticed a lot is that we actually talked at halftime. We had a bit of a Magic City Soccer halftime show with no one watching. And we talked about how the attack from Miami FC was a lot of long balls, a lot of playing it in the air, down the field, trying to connect. When that Ariel Martinez goal went in around minute 60, it seemed to change the game. And the Miami FC offense, which had been, like I just mentioned, kind of relying on those long passes, it was now much more on the ground, back and forth, really pushing the tempo towards Jacksonville. Did you see the same thing?
Yeah, reminiscent of last year, really. You had Miami FC kind of hitting, playing in triangles in a sense, and they were vacating the idea of the long ball. We spoke to Coach Douglas about it after the match, so that audio will drop with the recap. So you'll have that as well, so you'll hear his thoughts. But he brought up a good point. Spoiler alert. He said essentially that teams are pressing, or they're trying to play Miami FC in such a compact manner to not allow Ranella space to move, or not allow Down Smart space to move, or Chavez space to move. So what ends up happening? You have these situations where you got to throw a ball over the top to start stretching the defense. Not every ball is going to connect, but you're hoping the majority of them do. And a couple images that I saw, essentially down, especially in the first half, is Down Smart was able to bring down those balls down the left flank. However, he just didn't pull the trigger fast enough.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in a sense, yeah, it depends on what style of play you want. And really, it's whatever the defense is going to give you. If the defense is going to let you put the ball over the top, you're going to have to send it. If they're going to play back because they realize they're getting burned time and time again, then you open up the space in the midfield, get a little more creative, and then move forward. But Vincenzo Ranella played out of position tonight. Jeff Machad played out of position tonight. So they played a hell of a games, if you think about it, not in a situation that they're used to. How many times did you see Ariel Martinez, coming back into his own technical area to pick off a play? Same thing with Ranella, etc.
We saw Ranella make a tackle along the goal line around minute 10. It was pretty shocking. Like, why on earth is he back there? But yeah, you're definitely seeing a much more open strategy in terms of managing players. You're not seeing players locked into positions. They're moving around the field. We're obviously going to talk about it more in your recap, in the preview of the match, and in the podcast this week. But now the team looks ahead to the Open Cup. Right. This is the crown jewel that they obviously have their eyes on. They start out in this play-in game against FC Miami City. What do you think the team can kind of take from tonight's match and take into that game against FC Miami City on Sunday?
That despite not having their best players on the field, they can still manage results. I think you saw that the first game with having Vincenzo Ranella only playing for a couple minutes and Ariel Martinez not in the match at all. In the second game, you grinded out a result, being down a guy 60-plus minutes. And now in this game, you know what? You didn't have your best 11 either because Dylan Mares and Tyler Ruthven weren't available, and you still grinded out a result. So really, it's almost reminiscent of the early 2017 season when not everything was working together, and all of a sudden a 13-win run exploded.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Our 13-game unbeaten streak. So I think that's really what they're looking at. They're grinding out the results when they need to. They don't have their best guys at every position available, and they're making it work.
I think you mentioning Dylan Myers is important. I had a chat with Lee during the game, and we really thought one of the key things that had been missing for the team tonight was having him kind of be able to transition between the middle third and the final third. His ability to kind of bring the ball into that real attacking position, that was lacking really until the 60th minute when things started to click again. That'll be a really important addition, be able to see him on the field on Sunday. So, yeah, let's
save some for episode 50.
Yes, let's save a little bit for episode 50. We will see you on the we'll hear you on the podcast this week, and we'll see you next week for the big Open Cup matchup. Until then, he's been Omar Moubayed, I've been Matthew Bunch, and this has been Magic City Soccer.